Yo, YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy SalvationsElite. We are back with another video, guys. And today, man, it's really cool. DraftKings now has Call of Duty on the app, which is really dope. So obviously the whole Corona thing has forced some fantasy apps or some daily fantasy apps to look towards esports to get some of that traffic back on their website. And it's really cool. I mean, DraftKings added in COD to their app to give us an option to play their daily fantasy competitions. Obviously, there's other fantasy COD options out there, like draftbuff has been a pretty popular one in the COD scene the past year or two, where they're doing their type of thing. They used to be daily fantasy, now they moved to more like long-term leagues, like what Sleeper would do with fantasy football, or like what Yahoo would do with fantasy football or ESPN. Today we're going to go through what I hope to believe is going to be the goated daily fantasy lineup for CDL Chicago on Friday. So how they're doing it is they're splitting it up into each day of the tournament, the first day of the tournament specifically. So you can only pick players for certain matches. So it's not for weekends, it's for matches and for days. So that's kind of like the difference from like what draftbuff was doing with the whole weekend thing. So it makes it really interesting. So you can get pretty invested into certain players for certain games with DraftKings, which is pretty interesting and pretty cool. So overall, I was really excited to see what DraftKings would have to offer with rules and settings. So without further ado, let's get into their league and check it out. So they have a handful of different options. I decided to go with the kind of the premier tournament for the weekend for them, which was this $50,000 tournament here at the top. But let's check out their rules real quick, because that's obviously what's most important when figuring out how to build a good roster. So the rules and the roster size and positions or whatever is really interesting. So here's the rules that you guys are seeing right here. You have to select a captain, then you have 4 flex spots and a team spot. So you do have to choose a team for one of the 4 matchups that are playing during the specific time slot that they have allotted for this competition, which is really interesting. By the way, this isn't sponsored. I don't know if this is coming off as if it is. I actually just really am excited about this and I wanted to try it out. So anyway, you get 2 points for a kill, minus 1 point for a death, 3 points for a bomb plant and a defuse, 1 point for every 10 seconds in the hill in hardpoint, and then 1 point for every capture in domination. So obviously it awards KD. You're looking for the guys that are going to have the highest KDs. Obviously hill time matters, but not too much. So to put this into some context, like for a player who went 30 and 15 with 0 seconds in hill in a hardpoint match, they would have 45 points for that game, versus the guy who would go like 25 and 22 with, let's say, 2 minutes in hill, so a lot of time in hill. I mean, even at that point, you're still only racking in 40 points. So the KD matters a lot. Obviously, then the OBJ with the captures and the hill time is an added bonus. What's interesting, though, is with the captain gets an extra 1.5 times multiplier for his stats and for his price. So that's like kind of the X factor there that we have to consider while building this team. And then for the team slot that you have to select, obviously it's pretty straightforward. It's plus 10 points for the win, plus 4 points for each game that you win, and then plus a half a point for each round that you win in S&D. It's kind of weird that you get the S&D bonus, but you don't get like any bonus for like Dom or for hardpoint or something. So it definitely does have a slight favor towards teams who are good at search and destroy, because you're going to get an extra, maybe point or 2, maybe even 3 for a team that wins their search and destroy matches. So we got to keep that in mind when we're trying to select our team here. Alrighty, so here is the roster slots. You got the captains, you got the flexes, you got the team slot there, and we have $50,000 of salary to spend on our team. If you guys haven't played daily fantasy before, how it works is they assign a certain money value or a salary that each player requires, and then you have to fill out your roster to fulfill the full salary. So let's just look at some of these players and it'll kind of make sense. Scrolling through here, some of the most expensive guys. This is for the captain spot, so everybody's price is multiplied by 1.5. So Octane costs 15,900. Simp, Celium, Wuskins, arcitys. So there's some, really good players at the top here that are extremely expensive. As you guys can see in the bottom right corner of that screen there, right now you can spend $8,000 per player to hit that like $50,000 salary cap. Although I would highly recommend that you choose the team first before you choose any of the players, because the teams are the cheapest option. It's just like in daily fantasy when you would choose a defense first and then go from there. It's really the same strategy. So we have the choice between these 4 matches: the FaZe London match, the Huntsmen New York match, the Empire versus Optic match, and the Surge versus LA Gorillas match. And again, we need to choose a team that we think has the best chance to win and the team that is best at search and destroy. I mean, Atlanta costs 3,000. It's not that big of a difference between like Dallas Empire. It's not enough to justify picking the Empire or the Huntsman. In my opinion, the FaZe should cost more than 3,000. I think FaZe is a steal at 3,000 realistically, so let's snag Atlanta FaZe. So my thought process with the captain here is I don't think it's worth the extra 5,000 to make Octane or Simp your captain. Obviously, I would assume a lot of people are going to have Octane and Simp in their lineups, and that's the other thing that you have to consider with these types of games is that you're competing against a lot of other people in this big pool. So you do have to kind of choose some dart throws or maybe some guys that, at least one or two guys that you really believe in, and those guys are generally the X factor for your teams to win and get in the money. I mean, based off what we know about Octane and Simp, they're the most reliable, unstoppable players in the game that are going to get their stats no matter what, especially Octane. And so if I was going to make one of them a captain, I would make it Octane, but I'm leaning towards finding more of like a consistent player that I really believe in, maybe an OBJ guy for the captain spot, and then for sure picking up Simp and Octane as flexes. So let's try that and see how it works here. So let's grab Octane and Simp and see what we can do. All right, so we got Octane and Simp in the lineup now. We've got 26,000 left. We got to select our captain and two more flexes as well. So again, the captains are pretty expensive. Oh, I think I'm going to try to keep the captain for last and see what we can do with it. I'm going to experiment with that. So looking at these players here, I think the Huntsmen are kind of undervalued actually because they're playing New York. I know they got the new roster with Mac Melts and all. I mean, everything we've seen from New York, the Huntsmen should be in pretty good shape to put up some nice numbers at the least against New York. So I feel like I need to snag at least one of the Huntsmen with this roster here. We have enough money to make it work, I think. So honestly, I think I'm going to go Envoy here. Who on that roster do you just know for a fact is going to put up numbers and likely have like a 1.05, a 1.1 KD? It's going to be Envoy. So I'm going to snag Envoy. Of course, as well, it's not rare for him to have a lot of hill time and play OBJ and get a lot of captures and dom. So those extra points could be nice as well. So I'm feeling pretty good about Envoy. So now we're sitting here needing one flex and one captain. I kind of like the idea of taking a shot in the dark with the flex and then getting a pretty solid captain here. So I need to keep this flex down in like probably below 6,000. So let's go look and see what guys are there. I think I already have one guy in mind that I'm really looking forward to here. So let's check it out. So I scrolled down to the bottom here. All right. I mean, look at this, man. Vivid is the cheapest starter available. Obviously you can buy Aches or Enable or like Lacefield costs more than him. What? I don't know. I mean, they're playing Seattle. It's not like they're out here playing the Huntsmen, FaZe. They're playing Seattle. They have a chance to put up some numbers. I like Vivid Search and Destroy, especially in Respawn. I believe in him. I think that they can make something happen here. They got really screwed at Dallas with the whole connection thing. And this is a West Coast game. They're both West Coast here. So it gets me really interested in Vivid with the connections as well online. I like it a lot. So I'm going to snag Vivid and see what happens. So that leaves us with $11,200 left to find our captain here. So obviously we got to click on the captain here and then go see who we can even afford. And then hopefully we don't have to reconsider our whole lineup because I'm feeling really good about this so far. At this price range, we're looking at like a lot of the New York guys. And one specifically sticks out to me that I know for a fact is going to have a solid event. I mean, it's majormaniak. They're playing London, so it's not the easiest matchup. Like, obviously, London's going to be a solid team, especially in Respawn. So that's the only potential question I have. The other guy who I would consider here is maybe like Decimate and bank on the Vivid versus Decimate duo here and see if LAG can perform in this tournament. But I mean, at the same time, majormaniak's going to get hill time. He's going to have at least like around a 1 KD, if not higher than a 1 KD, because he's just going to be using the AR the whole game. I feel like he could be a pretty good captain here, and I kind of like the idea of going the Simp majormaniak duo and bank on FaZe playing pretty well against London. I'm feeling at least good about that, and we've got the FaZe team in our squad as well. So overall, I'm liking the idea of going majormaniak, and I think I'm going to make it happen. So majormaniak, get in the squad. Let's get it, baby. So here's my full roster. That's the full squad there. I mean, overall, I'm banking on Simp, I'm banking on Octane, banking on majormaniak, and FaZe playing well as a whole. And then our shot in the dark was Vivid. I mean, I think he's a value with the price there. He's worth at least more than some of those guys down at the bottom, and I'm looking forward to seeing what his squad to do. So I'm actually really excited about this. I think this was a really interesting thing. I recommend you guys go try it out as well, and maybe we could play in some leagues together down the road as well. Also, in the podcast tomorrow, we'll be talking about some fantasy options with us as a podcast, and you can join and play with us as well. So make sure to be on the lookout for the podcast tomorrow as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, like, comment, favorite, subscribe. I really do appreciate it. And as always, guys, I'm your boy SalvationsElite, and we will see you next time. I'm out.